So I wake up every day and I meditate and read my long-term goals. And then at night, I read my long-term goals and I meditate. I want to talk today about why I think it's so important to do that and also how I got into it. I think it all started kind of like in psychology class. It's weird, like it was sophomore year, right? And everyone was taking AP psychology because everyone wanted to boost their GPAs to look better for colleges, stuff like that. And of course, I was sophomore. I was working at Subway. I was like just getting going. And I just like didn't really freaking know. That you could take like AP classes and like my primary focus wasn't really on like what looks the best. It was more on like what am I gonna get the most out of my education? 'Cause you only do high school once, right? I took regular psychology, and I think it's been a really like just one of the most impactful courses I've probably taken. Just in applicability. Because instead of like worrying about memorizing flashcards and vocab and stuff, I've really been able to take in the course material and reflect on it. And one of the biggest thing that's come out of that class is meditation. um, we talked about it for like a couple weeks, watched videos on it, stuff like that, and it really inspired me to start meditating. And since then, I've just found so many profound impacts of that's had on my life. And I thought I'd share some of them today. So, I think like the number one thing is that you just get so much clarity in like everything you do, because you have this time set aside. And if, for those who don't know how to meditate, we'll get to that at the very end. We'll do like a quick little action packed. Here's how to meditate. But here's the deal, right? You're gonna get so much more clarity because you have this time set aside where you're just focusing on yourself and relaxing and getting in the moment. That when you're done with it, you're like ready to go. And at the same time, all your stuff is worked out. You've taken everything that you could be worrying about, processed it, and then thrown it out the window. So now you're ready to get on with what matters for whatever it is you're doing. Excuse me. So you get like clarity for yourself and then also for what needs to get done and then how you're going to do it. Alongside that, I think it's a really good time to take just a little bit of a break. Like if you're working out, when like your muscles, you need a break. And if you're working your brain, right, you're doing a lot of like work for whatever you do. Just taking that little break to recover, and just focus and letting your mind recover. It's a really surreal feeling. I remember like the first time I really got into deep meditation years and years ago, and like having that first real session where it just clicked and I could feel like everything in my head just going and going, and it was just a killer feeling. It was like, oh my god, because it was like you get this weird state of like there's pressure and like tense, but like it's a good thing in your head and it's like flowing and mending, and solving your previous problems and preparing you for the future. Um, and the third thing I think I came from it is I've just been a lot more chill and non-reactive, like just being more proactive, and then being able to adapt more easily to different situations, and then just kind of like being chill and relaxing with a lot of things is something that's come a lot out of it. Just stress is just like pretty much gone. Like there's just none because you meditate and it's just poof out the window, right? So I know people do it for a lot of different times. Some people do it for up to like 20-30 minutes per session. I usually max out at about 5 to 10, maybe 15 at the tops. It's sort of like a by feel thing, and then once you get your experience in it, you'll start to understand how much time do I need to commit to this. um, Excuse me, but it is just so important to really commit time to it because it's like one of those things where you're gonna have a profound impact and like bump up on the rest of your life just by doing this one thing, once, twice a day, right? So I took care of meditating. Let's go to goal setting. So Think and Grow Rich, if you haven't seen it on here, really just profound book. And kind of help shape like I think like the next decade of my life pretty much, with long-term goals. So what I'll do is usually before I meditate, I'll just like I used to like have my long term goals on my phone, and then also like the medium term goals that coincide with those, um, and I'll just read those aloud. Um, Long term goals first, and then like medium term steps, um, and then now I can just kind of like do it off memory, just because it's like such a like ingrained part of my life and personality. So I'll just resuscitate long-term goals and then medium-term steps. And then of course everything has deadlines. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, I mean that's like the book to read if you want to like kill it like in anything. Um, so I do that before morning meditation and before nighttime meditation. And what it does before I go into meditation is it gives me like a sense of purpose and a direction to steer my life towards, right? So it's like I know where I want to be, by the time I'm 30. And excuse me. Um, then once you get into that subconscious reflection where you're just blocking out the world, and you're stopping your conscious, just letting your subconscious flow, which is just such a powerful force, right, to like solve problems or just reflect or like grow yourself, because it's all about instilling like perseverance and determination in your subconscious. And like Napoleon Hill, he talks about this a bunch in Think and Grow Rich. I'll put the video I did on it in the description or something, I hope. And just having that every day is it's just killer. I can't recommend meditation and reading your goals. Reading your goals really just comes with setting your goals, but meditation can really just for anybody at any time, like just start meditating. It's just killer. So how do we meditate, right? Let's get into that. So it took a little bit for me to figure out, but it wasn't too tough. You can kind of sit like wherever you want. If you just want to sit in a chair, it's totally cool. You don't have to be like a monk and like have your feet like this and be like like it's just not necessary. You can do it if you want. It's just whatever's comfortable for you. Just find like anywhere to sit. And then just sit back, relax. The point of it, especially at the beginning, is you definitely don't want to move once you start, right? So pick like a comfortable position, and then put your hands down and just don't move. Excuse me. Once you have that, close your eyes, and the number one thing is focusing on your head and your breathing. So first, close your eyes, block out any sensory input there, and then also try to like tune out anything you can hear, right? You don't want to have outside distractions at all. And to help with that, you can breathe in and out your nose and just like listen exclusively to your breathing, and then also like look, with your eyes closed, like just look at your nose, so that you're focusing, with your ears and your eyes on your breathing, and all you can hear is your breathing. That's a really killer part because it's going to help you to block out the rest of the world and just focus on yourself, which is like number one step. Number two step is once you start, you're just sitting there, not moving, not listening to anything, just focusing on your breathing. You're going to start to think about like a lot of stuff in your head. And the goal, and this is the really big part, is to ignore all the thoughts that come in your head and focus exclusively on your breathing. If you have any thoughts that come in your head, just try to ignore them and get back to your breathing. The point is you don't want to be thinking about anything. You just want to let your mind do its own thing so that it can flow, it can flush itself out, because it's all like a subconscious thing. It's got to happen on its own. It's not something you force, right? And that's where the time is. It just really depends, because once you really start to kill it and start to feel the meditation, it's gonna be like thumping, and like it's just like blood flow, right? So it's kind of tough to explain without doing it, but like you focus and you just cut off thought, and you're gonna have like thoughts flowing through your head and processing themselves while you're not thinking about them, while you're not like recognizing them, because again, you're just taking, any thoughts that you have and ignoring them and focusing on that breathing so that you're not influencing it, or like your consciousness is just not there. And usually once you start to get it, you start to feel the pressure build, and that's good. That's really good, because you've got everything flowing. Especially like the first time you meditate is going to be huge, because you're going to have all this built up stuff. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not like a psychologist, but like it's just killer, right? Because you have all of these built up images, feelings, emotions, experiences, thoughts, and they're just gonna flow through and get out of there really quickly, so that it's processed, and then you're not worrying about it. It's out of there, and you have the clarity and focus to go and do what really matters. And I'm sure there's other benefits to it too, like relaxation, or I don't know. It's just killer. You see it throughout all aspects of your life, because you're getting better at focusing on one thing too, right? Like, if you got work and you need to focus on something, having the ability to just sit there and do nothing, and really focus on nothing for 10 minutes is going to be like a killer trainer for focusing on your work or whatever needs to get done. So when I started out, I would probably start a timer for sure. Make sure, start the timer and then ignore it, right? Because you don't want to, focus on outside stimuli. So once you start timer, then you can just get like a kind of a sense on like how much time you're doing it for. Once you finish, you can see it. And then you'll know, is this really short? Is this really long? Do I need to do this for more or less, or see how it works? But really, we're focused on letting your mind work itself out, and then starting to feel it go, and then just let it happen, right? Focus on the breathing, ignore everything else, and then just let it go until you feels like it's done. And that's really my strat with it. Put in the comments below if it works for you. It is just killer. Like, I think this guy talks about it too. Tim Ferriss's book I'm reading. We'll do a review on it soon. It's like really freaking long. But like, there's just so many highly effective people, and they all have, like 80%, I think he says, do like daily mindness practices with like meditation or other forms of it, and it's killer. It really just increases productivity and clarity, and it's freaking meditate. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.